Yeah, yeah. Get your ass up and hurry.
Would you like drugs then?
Our discussion of food additives. And in my hand I have that book called In Bad Taste, the MSG Symptom Complex by George R. Schwartz, MD. Dr. Schwartz has done an excellent job exposing the food additive known as MSG, monosodium glutamate. This is a very prevalent food additive. It is in most of our processed foods and even prepared foods that we buy in delicatessens. It's in soda pops and other foods that are common on the American dinner table. I would invite you to even look at a book like this, expose yourself to some new reading that will be of benefit to you. In this book, Dr. Schwartz gives testimonies of people who have had serious physical problems, and when they eliminated MSG from their diets, they saw remarkable improvement. We removed MSG from our diets many, many years ago, and we were glad we did. There were symptoms in our bodies that were not good, and when we eliminated the MSG, we were glad to see them disappear. And on the line now, I believe we have our guest speaker, and let's see if Debbie can join us.
Hello.
Hello, Debbie.
Hi, Mary.
Welcome to The Living Way.
Well, thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Yes, I'm very excited about speaking with you because I know you have much information that our radio audience needs to hear. Many people don't realize that there are hidden chemicals in our foods, and you found that out, did you not, Debbie, many years ago?
Oh, I sure did. I did it the hard way. I was 27 when I began reacting to MSG, and it seemed to happen overnight. I was 58. I'm 58 now, so that was quite a while ago. And one day I was this happy, healthy, and very active mother of 3, and the next day I found myself on the floor with sharp pains around my heart whenever I took a breath. Of course, my husband was very panicked and about to call 911. But after going to the doctor, nothing was revealed. They said my heart was really strong. I was strong as a horse, were the words he used. But over the years, my health just degenerated to a point where I was so ill, I literally wanted to die. That was how bad it was. That was around 1995. By the time I was so ill, I was plagued with joint pain and muscle pain, and I'd have 3 migraine headaches a week. I was diagnosed with asthma, and I started a routine of shots for a month, allergy shots. I had those racing heart episodes. I became irritable. I was cranky. I would have severe stomach disorders, and this didn't happen all at once. It was it just gradually, more and more symptoms began appearing mysteriously, and doctors would check me out, find nothing wrong, or they would diagnose me with some kind of disorder like tendinitis or something like that. One said I had colitis, and one said it was stress. So I also began to gain weight, and I developed vertigo, nausea. I had chronic bronchitis at least 2-3 times a year, and ear, nose, and throat infections just plagued me constantly. I had fuzzy thinking and terrible fatigue, what would be termed chronic fatigue syndrome today. By 3:30, I was on the couch, and my hands and my feet were sore. They would ache. And then I learned at the age of 45 that I was allergic to sulfa drugs, so I sent away for information about this food preservative, which is in a lot of food items. And I learned how to avoid that, and I thought I was doing pretty well, but I still wasn't 100%. I still was plagued by terrible stomach problems and headaches, especially. And then my son became very ill, and he was only 20 at the time. And not even 20, I believe he was 19, and he began to have the terrible migraine headaches also, and deep, dark circles under his eyes. And this was a young man who wanted to be a doctor all his life, and he felt his life was over, basically. He couldn't study, he couldn't concentrate. And we took him to many doctors, and they all said the same thing. It's stress. We heard that so many times. And, of course, they prescribed the typical remedies for that and drugs. And then I remember in 1995, in February, I woke up so ill. I had a horrible migraine. My head was spinning. The vertigo kicked in again, and my stomach felt like a train had run over it. And I dropped to my knees at that point. I couldn't handle it anymore. I turned it over to a higher power, and I prayed for help, and I just told him that basically I just didn't want to go on anymore like this, and I needed help. And I cried. I think it was the first time I cried for my health condition, which I'd been hiding, from friends and family alike for over 20 years. And I cried, of course, for my son. And it just was so overwhelming at that point. And at that moment, as I just sat there on my knees, I just felt a very, very sweet, warm presence, and felt very, very prompted to go and look again at my literature on sulfites. And little did I know that there was an article in there about MSG that I had never read, because my problem, I thought, was related to sulfites. But I read it. It seemed to pop out at me. I read it, and there was every condition that I had been struggling with and that my son had been struggling with all these years. And needless to say, I did my research and tried to find as much information I could about MSG. There was very little about it at that time. There was a group, an educational group called No MSG, that I got contacted, and they helped me through the first 3 months of trying to avoid it. And of course, I started talking about it, talked with friends and relatives, and it's funny how so many of them started sharing their chronic disorders and wanted more information. So I started Xeroxing lots and lots of information. It became kind of messy and expensive, so that's when we decided to put the information in a book. And it's a survival guide and a cookbook that's helped thousands since we published it in 1997. So we're basically involved with trying to help people and educate people about the hidden sources of glutamate. And glutamate, when you say MSG, it's monosodium glutamate. And it's the glutamate itself that is the harmful component of MSG. And so we really believe that a large percentage of the population is suffering. Not a small one, as the FDA might tell us. They might say that 15 to 20% may react if you have asthma. However, I didn't have asthma. My doctor took me off all my shots, and I never needed those shots. All my symptoms completely disappeared when I avoided MSG and aspartame, which is also a neurotransmitter. It's an excitatory neurotransmitter, or neurotoxin for short. That's just a coinage that is used to describe these food additives that affect neurons in the brain. And we believe that doctors are treating the symptoms of MSG toxicity and calling it chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, asthma, ADD, depression, obesity, host of neurological disorders.
Imagine how much money they've spent trying to silence good people who are putting their lives on the line to fight for change.
Here's your drug, sir. Have a nice day.